Let's see now the cardiac cycle. And before going into some details associated with it, let's see these two words. Systole, it means contraction, and diastole, it means relaxation. So we have atrial systole. This is the contraction of the atria. Ventricular systole, this is the contraction of the ventricle. Then the diastole, which is the relaxation. Now the way the heart contracts is unique. Both atria, they have to contract at the same time, and when they are contracting or in systole, the ventricles are relaxed, or in diastole. Then the atria have to relax or diastole in order for the ventricles to contract or systole. There is a short period of time when both atria and ventricles are relaxed, but there is no any period when the atria and the ventricles are contracting at the same time. Valves will open and close in order to allow blood flow from one area to another, and at the same time to prevent the plaque flow. This image summarizes the overall cardiac cycle. As we said, we have the systole, we have the diastole. The first one is the atrial systole. Both atrias are contracting to push the blood into the ventricles. The atrioventricular valves are open, and the semilunar valves are closed, so all the blood would be trapped within the ventricle. Then we have the ventricle systole. The AV valves in this case are closed, the semilunar valves are open, and the blood is being pushed into the pulmonary trunk and the aorta. So this is the ventricle systole. Then it will be followed by the diastole. The ventricle relaxed and began to fill passively. So again here the AV valves are open and the blood is flowing toward them. The semilunar valves are closed, and the atria the atria are relaxed. Then again we will start by the atria systole, and the cycle will repeat itself. So this is the cardiac cycle. Now for the heart sounds, these are the sounds of the heart valves when they close. The first sound is for the AV valves, and the second sound is for the semilunar valves. This is the lap-tap sound. Sometimes we have heart murmurs. This is caused by when the blood flow is disturbed, and may be a sign of defective valves. Now for the cardiac conduction system, in order to understand this, let's move to the image. This stimulation is coming from three places. The first one is the sinoatrial node. This is the small mass of cardiac cells in the upper right atrium, and this is considered the main one, and therefore it's known as the cardiac pacemaker. Cardiac pacemaker. Now, although it controls the heart of the beats of the heart, but it can also be controlled by or modulated by the nervous system. Now, the SA node sends signals to the second one, which is the atrioventricular node, the AV node. The AV node is located between the atria and the ventricles, and as I said, receives signals from the SA node and delivers them to the third node, which is common or which is made of two parts: the AV bundle and the Purkinje fibers. The AV bundle and the Purkinje fibers, these are running through the septum and running through the ventricle walls. So they will deliver the signal to the ventricles. So they will carry the impulses to the ventricles. So this is, as we said, the cardiac conduction system. Now, for the cardiac conduction system, in order to be able to see it, we can see it through something called the ECG. ECG is the tool for diagnosing mainly heart arrhythmias, which is irregularities in the heartbeat, And in order to detect this, we need to track the electrical current in the heart. Now, it has been found that the electrical current in the heart can draw an ECG wave. And this wave is made out of mainly 3 peaks. The B wave, which is this one, the first one. This, it means that impulses across atria. So the atria, both atria are receiving impulses. Then we have the QRS complex, which is QRS, this one, the very famous one. This, it means the spread of impulses down septum and to the ventricles in Purkinje fibers. And the last one is the T wave, which means it's the end of electrical activity in the heart. Okay, so B, QRS, T. B, as we said, that the impulses that the impulses are running through or across the atria. QRS, that the impulses are running through the septum toward the ventricles. And the T wave is indicating that the electrical signal has ended in the heart. Now, ECG also can detect irregularities, as you can see here in this image. Irregularities like arrhythmia or ventricle fibrillation, irregularities in contractions and relaxation within the ventricles. Now, since the blood is pushed within the blood vessels, it exerts pressure on the arteries wall. That is the blood pressure. Blood pressure value changes according to the contraction or relaxation of the heart. So in this case, we have the systolic pressure, which is the highest pressure as the blood ejected during ventricle systole. And then we have the diastolic pressure, which is the lowest pressure as the blood returns to the heart during ventricle diastole. If you're wondering what is the highest and lowest pressure, when you measure your blood pressure, say for example, it will be like 1 or 10 over 80, that is the highest, that is the systolic pressure, and this is the diastolic pressure. To measure the blood pressure, we need a device. This device is called sphygmonamometer. As I said, this to measure the blood pressure, and we have normal readings of systolic pressure less than 120 milligram, whereas with the diastolic pressure it should be less than 80 millimeter mercury. These are the normal reading of blood pressure. Now, another thing about blood pressure, its association with the diameters of the arteries and arterioles. So the bigger the diameter of a blood vessel, the higher the blood pressure is. So with arteries, since they have the biggest diameters, we have the highest blood pressure. But that blood pressure, as we are branching and downsizing toward the arterioles, toward the capillaries, we are losing the blood pressure. And in the veins, we will almost have zero blood pressure in the veins. Remember, we said about the blood circulating in the veins, it's milking, it's passive. There is no blood pressure there. So the highest blood pressure is within the arteries, and the highest one among the arteries is within the aorta. Within the aorta. So in order to measure the blood pressure, a clinician would inflate the cuff with air and then allow pressure in the cuff to fall gradually, and at the same time they will be using a stethoscope to listen to the sound, for the sounds of the blood movement through the artery. Basically, in this case, we are mimicking the blood pressure in the aorta and seeing the changes on the mercury column. That would give us the diastolic and the systolic blood pressure within the blood arteries. Now, of course, there are diseases associated with the blood pressure. Constant high blood pressure is a problem because it causes a strain on the cardiovascular system. That is the hypertension, constant high blood pressure. And in this case, blood vessels react by becoming hardened and scared, and the strain on the heart from having to work harder. In high blood pressure, the heart has to work harder and harder to push blood along these blood vessels. In this case, we will have high systolic pressure, more than 140, and high diastolic pressure, more than 90 millimeter mercury. And again, this is extremely dangerous. This is like a silent killer because it has no symptoms. It might cause ruptures in the blood capillaries, since the blood capillaries are not designed or adapted to high blood pressure. This is the normal values, or the blood, this is the blood pressure categories. These are the values of systolic and diastolic blood pressure. And these are the risk factors of hypertension with some additional comments about them. The other type of blood pressure disease is hypotension, which is the opposite of hypertension. Hypotension is low blood pressure. In this case, there is not enough power to push the blood through blood vessels, which might mean not enough blood supplies for tissues. If low blood pressure enough, or if the blood pressure dropped significantly, it might cause dizziness or fainting. It might follow abrupt changes in the body position, like sudden move or sudden jump or sudden standing, and may result from excessive blood loss or fluid loss, for example, from burns. Hypotension is also a significant disease, although it's not common as hypertension. Now, for the rest of the slides, I think there are 4 or 5 slides. These are cardiovascular disorders. I won't go through them because I will be again reading them one by one. I don't think there is anything significant I need to go over to explain. We will keep it simple. You don't need to know exactly everything here in these slides. We will talk about this in the lab. So please go through them and see if you have any questions about them. Post it in the forum. And also in general, post your ideas, your videos, your thoughts, your challenge questions about this system in the forum, and we will talk more in the lab.